I'm gonna go over here so I can see the weapons. Ms. Rice, would you state your,
You have to press the button again, the middle button. And then it blinks for a little bit. Is it blinking? Okay, press it again.
Ms.?
What's your, sure.
Okay, Ms. Rice, would you please state your full name for the record?
Jane Rice.
And what is your business address and where are you employed?
I'm employed at Environmental Design and Research, and the address is 217 Montgomery Street, Suite
And what is your
1000.
position there? I'm sorry. I cut you.
That's okay, Suite 1000, Syracuse, New York. I am the Director of Planning.
Thank you. I placed before you what I've marked as applicant's exhibit 16. Can you identify that for me, please?
Yes, it's my direct testimony.
And was that prepared by you or under your direct supervision?
Yes,
Do you have any changes, additions, or deletions to that testimony?
no,
If I were to ask you the same questions today, would your answers be the same?
yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will move admission of applicant's exhibit 16, subject to cross, and tender the witness for cross.
And Mr. May, play back his microphone back. Speed this up. Thought we'd found a way to speed up this hearing.
You can always stipulate the testimony.
Mr. Van Dyke, when you're ready.
All right. Good morning, or good afternoon, Ms. Rice.
Good afternoon.
Is this the first case involving a wind power company that you've testified in?
No, sir.
How many others have you testified in?
I have attended a hearing, one other, in New York State, and I have submitted written testimony in several others.
Okay. And in each of those instances in which you've attended or you've submitted testimony, did you provide that testimony on behalf of the wind power companies?
On behalf of the developer for that particular project, yes.
You've never testified in opposition to a wind power project?
No, sir.
With respect to the employees that are predicted to be employed by the Republic Wind project, I'd like to talk a little bit about those employees who are going to be permanent employees of the project. And you've calculated how many full-time employees will be employed in that project?
I am going to have to find that number in my testimony, written testimony. Let's see here, do you have a particular question that you're referencing?
Well, I just want to know how many full-time employees will work for this project in the future.
Okay, are you referencing, when we run the JEDI model, we estimate number of employees during construction as well as during operation. Which particular period are you asking about?
All right, referring you to answer 11 in your testimony, you state that your JEDI model estimates the creation of approximately 10 on-site jobs, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And that's the number of people that are anticipated to actually work for the facility?
Yes, that's correct, on site.
And does the project, or does the JEDI model predict that other employees working for the facility itself will be working off-site?
The JEDI model does not directly predict the location of the. I'm no longer live. Oh, boy. Okay. We know what to get you for holidays. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So, whether the employees are literally physically sitting on site or in another capacity operating the facility sitting off-site is not part of the estimation by the JEDI model, and it's not calculated in that final determination. So it's a long-winded answer to, I'm not sure how many will be sitting on-site and how many would be sitting off-site.
Oh, okay. So the 10 jobs, the 10 on-site jobs to which answer 11 refers, would it include anybody, everybody working for the wind power company whose jobs are attributable to this facility?
The answer is that they would be directly attributable to this facility.
Okay. And do you know what the projected annual salary will be for those employees?
Again, based on the estimate from the JEDI model, the annual salary, there's an expected payroll impact, my answer to question 12, or answer 12. And again, it's broken out based on construction jobs and then during operations. So the construction jobs, it's estimated that there would be an annual earnings of $22.7 million. And with respect to operational jobs, the annual earnings is estimated at $0.6 million, if I'm reading this correctly.
And
10
that's,
full-time on-site jobs, operations and maintenance jobs will produce an estimated $0.6 million in annual earnings, yes.
and that's the total for all 10 employees?
Yes.
Now, I believe that your testimony also has a discussion about local tax revenues that would be attributable to this project. Answer 15.
Yes.
Okay. Did you take into account whether or not there would be any tax subsidies provided to this project at any level of government, whether it's federal, state, or local?
The information provided there was actually, is stated there, but it was that the pilot revenue information provided to us is just that. It is provided, was provided to me by the developer. So I did not take into account any potential subsidies. I do not know whether any subsidies were taken into account when determining these pilot dollar amounts, revenue amounts.
Are you aware of whether or not the federal government provides any tax subsidies for projects of this nature?
I'm going to object, it's beyond the scope of her direct examination, Your Honor.
Well, it doesn't have to be within the scope of her direct examination.
The witness can answer if she's aware.
No,
No, you're not aware, or no, substantively.
no, I'm not gonna answer, no. I can strike that. No, I am not aware for this specific project.
Do you know whether this project will be the subject of any tax abatements by any government, whether federal, state, or local?
No, I am not aware.
Do you know whether the turbines and other equipment purchased for this project will be manufactured in Ohio?
No, I do not.
Do you know whether any of it will be manufactured in the United States?
No, I do not.
When you, did you do the JEDI model yourself?
Along with some support from my staff, yes.
Okay. When the JEDI model was performed, did it assume that the equipment for the project would be manufactured in Ohio?
I don't believe so. I don't believe that assumption is included in the JEDI model.
I mean, does the JEDI model take into account, yeah, never mind. When did you design the JEDI model that was used for this purpose? That is, design the inputs for the model?
I did not.
Okay, who did that?
We, the developer, our client. And I'm unclear what you mean by design, the inputs.
Yeah. I mean, give me some idea as to how this model works. I assume that you plug in inputs of information into some formula, and then it presents you with some numbers. Is that correct in kind of a general way?
Generally, the JEDI model requires some basic inputs, location of the project, year of construction, megawatt capacity or nameplate capacity of the project, number of turbines, and then what we do is we then confirm some of the additional default. Based on all that initial input, the model will generate some default values, and we confirm those values with our client. And those values then, and so the client then either confirms those values are rational, reasonable in light of all of the parameters of the project, or they will adjust them accordingly. And then based on that response, we either stay with the default inputs or we will change them according to what is provided to us, and then we run the model.
So what economic information, if any, used as an input in the model were provided by Republic Wind?
A few of the items involve, well, let me go here. Some of the costs associated with construction of the project, some equipment costs, maybe material costs, and some development costs. So those costs, client oftentimes has a strong understanding of them and will look at the default inputs provided by the JEDI model and will confirm that they're rational, or will adjust them, increase them or decrease them accordingly.
Where did you obtain the information about the number of operational jobs that would be associated with the project?
That is an output from the JEDI model, if I understand your question correctly. The JEDI model, once these inputs that we were just talking about, once they're put into the model then does its calculation, and that is part of the jobs output that is estimated through the JEDI model.
Where did you get the figure of 10 on-site jobs that would be employed by the project?
That's an estimated output from the JEDI model.
You didn't obtain that information from Republic Wind?
No.
Is there some segments of the JEDI model that is designed solely to estimate economic benefits from wind projects?
I don't understand your question.
Yeah. I mean, the JEDI model's used for estimating economic benefits from a variety of projects, not just wind projects, right?
Renewable energy, yes.
Okay. And not all of it's related to renewable energy either, right?
So the version of the JEDI model we used is specifically tailored to wind.
Okay. And who designed that module or that version of the JEDI model?
The National Renewable Energy Laboratories, otherwise known as NREL.
And is NREL associated with a government agency?
Yes, the federal government.
Which agency?
Department of Energy, if I have that correct.
Okay. And is the Department of Energy's, one of its functions is to promote renewable energy, is that right?
I don't know what all of the functions are for the Department of Energy, so I would agree with that, but I am not personally aware.
But you are personally aware that one of the functions for the U.S. Department of Energy is to promote renewable energy?
Yes.
With regard to the tax revenues that are described in answer 15, all of those tax figures came from Republic Wind?
Yes.
When you did your work for Republic Wind, did you do anything besides get the information for the JEDI model and then run the model? In other words, did you do any independent research of your own on advantages or disadvantages of wind projects economically?
We did not conduct independent research regarding the advantages or disadvantages economically for the Republic Wind project itself.
Mm-hmm. So you didn't do any research to determine whether the Republic Wind project might have some economic costs to the people living around the facility?
I had that rewritten, Your Honor.
I don't understand the question.
I'll
Maybe
re-ask the
restate it.
All right, I'll re-ask the question. Did your model have any inputs that evaluated the cost for this wind project to the people living around it or inside of the project area?
The costs associated with the JEDI model were specifically to the, not the JEDI model, I'm sorry, the cost inputs which we used for the JEDI model were specific to costs associated with the project itself, construction, operation, so forth. That's my answer.
Okay, well, let's answer the question. So, if, let's just assume for a moment, as a hypothetical, that this wind project resulted in a loss of income for a nearby airport. Is that, would your model take that cost into account?
I'm going to object to the form of the question, Your Honor. I think it's an improper hypothetical.
Why is it improper?
There's no facts to that that's supporting what the hypothetical is.
Well,
Why don't we just simply ask, did your model take into account costs relative to loss of business to various endeavors within the
The model does not take into account potential losses that may be experienced by any businesses in the study area.
okay. Does your model take into account any decreases in property value that might occur to landowners living around the project?
Again, it assumes facts, not evidence, that there would be property value decreases, Your Honor.
Well, I'm just trying to find out, I mean,
Okay, let's just get to the chase in terms of, does your model take into account any changes in property values?
No, the model focuses on jobs, earnings, and economic output, not on land value.
and that would be for the project itself.
Yes.
So your project or your model did not take into account any losses that might occur for people other than Republic.
The same objection, Your Honor. It assumes there's losses. There's nothing in the record that shuts the door on any losses.
I've phrased it as any losses, so I'm not assuming that.
Same objection.
Again, let's just simply phrase it as, did your model take into account any changes in value for any business and/or property owners?
The model takes into account potential jobs, earnings from those jobs, and the flowing economic output from the construction and operation of the Republic Wind facility. And by so doing that, it does not take into consideration potential losses.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Is there any other costs from any other party?
I do have a couple of questions, and then I'll give you the opportunity to do your reader.
Look back just a second, Your Honor, before rewrite.
Yeah, well, I've got some questions, so.
Go
Yeah, that way you can pick up any follow-up that you might have as well.
I like that.
Try to shorten it. The first question that I have, I know that we've been utilizing the term JEDI a number of times, and I know what JEDI is in one context, but I don't think you're using it in the context that I was thinking. So just for the purposes of clarifying the record, if you could tell us what JEDI stands for.
JEDI stands for Jobs, Economic Development Impacts.
Thank you. And again, you said that model was designed by whom?
I said NREL, that's NREL, National Renewable Energy Laboratories.
And do they do updates to those models?
They do, yes.
So what was the date of the model that you utilized?
The date of the model that we utilized, I believe, is 2018. Let me double check here. We have it identified in the report. NREL JEDI model 2018, I believe.
And to your knowledge, have there been any updates since the model that you utilized, the 2018 model?
I have not checked recently.
And my next question has to do with the discussion that you have regarding pilot revenues, which I believe you reference on page 3, and then again on page 6. What is your understanding of the existence of a pilot program for this project? And if there is such a pilot program, which counties does that pertain to?
My understanding is that there is an existence of a pilot program because we included it. We have these conversations at the outset to understand if a pilot program will be used for each project. Typically it is. And it is my understanding that it would be, how it gets distributed is another point of decision made by those involved with determining what that program is and how it gets distributed, not only between the counties but other municipalities, is something we don't get involved in. So,
Okay, and which county, I assume you're assuming that the pilot program is on a county basis,
that is my assumption, yes.
and which county or counties?
My understanding is we're working with the Seneca County and Sandusky County.
So, to your knowledge, Seneca County and Sandusky County each have an approved pilot program for this project?
I don't know. I would be speculating with a yes.
But you must have had an assumption that such a program existed in order to have calculated revenues that would be distributed to municipalities.
Yes.
And to your knowledge, to the extent that, let's say, a school district was split between two counties, do you know how those monies then would be flowed to a school district?
Again, we do not get involved in at any level with the decision of the distribution of the pilot payments.
Mr. Stenson?
I have a moment to just, for just a second, if I could pass through.
We can go off the record.
No redirect, Your Honor.
Thank you. Based on my limited questions, do any of the parties care to ask anything additional?
Your Honor, I would think if they're gonna ask, we would have the opportunity to go last.
And I would afford you the opportunity to ask anything
Okay, I'm just
additional after
making
that.
sure.
And it was limited to just my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Safe travels.